When it comes to first-party games that people associate with Xbox, oftentimes the two big titles that we hear about are Halo or Gears of War. But in particular, Gears of War is a title that, to me, shouts Xbox. It's a game that, for me, got me into getting an Xbox 360 way back when, and it's something that I've played pretty much religiously since that era. Gears of War has such a special place in my heart due to its unique level of combat and the way that works in its online multiplayer modes. Now, one of the things about this, though, is when you think about Xbox, you think this is one of the system sellers. This is one of the reasons people get Xbox. But in the recent years, Microsoft's really shifted their focus from being a singular developer for their console only and has worked on expanding their titles to different platforms. And one of the most shocking announcements for a lot of gamers recently was that Gears of War would be making its way to the PS5. And some Xbox diehards denounced this, thought this was a terrible move. Others, like myself, actually think this is probably a reasonable move, a good move, and it speaks to the future of what Microsoft is going to be doing in terms of the console space. And so in this video, I'm going to go over why I actually think this is a positive thing and why I'm actually excited to see Gears of War hit the PS5. Let's take a look. With the announcement of Gears of War Reloaded hitting the PlayStation 5, a lot of the opinions of some of the Xbox community have been that this is the death of Microsoft's Xbox as it stands, and this is basically signaling a bleak future for the Xbox console. And just to kind of get this out of the way, I don't believe that's the case, and I truly believe that this actually signals something positive, not just for Xbox, but for the gaming space. I think what we're going to see in the future, in the near future, with the newer Xbox consoles, without getting too off topic here, is something that's more of just an option to play, or in other words, a more streamlined gaming PC for the mass consumer. And Gears of War being released on the PS5 is essentially Microsoft saying, hey, we're not going to limit where you play our games. Xbox is just one of many options to do that. And the big positive that I'm gaining from this in the short term, and by the short term I mean by the time Gears Reloaded actually hits consoles, is purely that it's going to increase the viability of Gears of War as a brand, but it's also going to increase the player base and also contribute to having more of a resurgence in that franchise. I loved Gears of War 5, and there was a bit of a boom when it came out, but it felt like Gears since that release has become stagnant. We haven't really seen much. There's no more updates for Gears 5, and the player base on that title is steadily dwindling, and I know this because I still actively play Gears 5. And so, to me, seeing Gears Reloaded hit not just the Xbox, but hit the PS5 and even PC even, means that there is a strong opportunity to increase the player base and player count and increase the viability of Gears as a franchise. And I think that what we're going to end up with is a second coming of that title. I think we're going to see players who otherwise never played Gears of War or only viewed it as a curiosity actually jump foot first into that title and really understand why it was so special on the Xbox 360 and why it still is so special. Now, with this being said, there's still a bit of up in the airness about Gears E-Day and if that's going to hit PS5. My assumption is that it probably will, but you'll probably have some short-term level of exclusivity for it on the Xbox Series consoles. But again, this is all positive because if we end up having Gears Reloaded grabbing a large player base on the PlayStation, we're going to see that transfer over to future Gears titles that ideally will also be on consoles like the PS5 and capture that audience, and in other words, have a large player base and keep that community thriving. Because for me, I love Gears of War. It's still a game that I actively play on my Xbox. I refuse to pretty much delete it at this point. And it's something that I come back to every so often and always remember why I love that shooter over so many other titles on the market. And to be able to see that dwindling player base get reignited and have a larger community, and then ideally larger community support again, I think this is a positive thing for the future of not just Gears of War, but also for the approach and the way Microsoft is handling the gaming console space.